Hey everyone, welcome to the Hey Hannah podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mya Fields, but to my friends and those who know me well, I'm just Mya. I'm a higher education administrator, a mother, and a wife of 14 amazing years. But above all, I'm a Christ follower. This podcast is a special platform created to honor the memory of my beloved daughter, Hannah. It's here that I have the chance to have the conversations that I never got to have with her, to share the wisdom and love I wish I could have passed on. It's a reminder to cherish the precious moments we're given and a testament to the power of healing, hope, and personal growth. If you're someone who's seeking personal growth, inspiration, and practical advice to build a solid foundation for a successful and fulfilling life, this is a place for you. Join me as we honor Hannah's memory together. Laugh, cry, and learn. Get ready for a podcast that is so much more than you could ever imagine. The Hey Hannah podcast, healing hearts, one conversation at a time. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Hey Hannah podcast. We're so excited that you're tuning in today. We're going to have a chance to chat with Emily Seigal, fellow podcaster in the space, and we are talking today about adult friendships. So Emily, thank you so much for joining us. Excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. So, I hear a lot, and I don't know if this is something you've heard a lot too, is that mom's just having a hard time with finding out how to make friends as an adult. I guess when you're in school, you make friends because you have your classroom, but when you
Mhm.
transition to adulthood, it can be a bit different. So it just seems like a common struggle amongst moms. So is that something you've heard a lot in your space, and just what are your thoughts on how to navigate that?
Yeah. I do think it's a common struggle, but I think like the sticky wicket of this common struggle of motherhood is that no one wants to voice that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
much
true.
easier to voice, oh, I'm just having a hard time getting this kid to sleep, or,
That's
you
true.
know, the terrible twos or, threes or fours, wherever we're at now. Like that feels safer to say than, hey, I'm feeling kind of like lonely and unfulfilled in the relationships I do have.
Yeah.
That feels much more vulnerable. And a lot of times we feel like we're the only ones feeling that way. And so, oh my gosh, like who wants to say, like, hey, I don't really have that great of friendships these days. No one wants to
Yeah.
say that. Um, or not even that they don't have great friendships, but just the common struggle I run into is that it's not like we don't have good friends in our life.
Mhm.
It's often that those friends either don't live near us anymore
Yeah.
or maybe in a different season. And so we find that we're just like feeling a little unfulfilled, but sometimes not even able to fully put like pinpoint why around that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but yeah, you are right. It's a common struggle, very common.
Yeah. It is,
Hmm.
now that you say that, like, there's a level of vulnerability that comes with it, like, even when you said that, I'm like, "Oh, yeah," you just feel, like, kinda so out there, like, "Oh,
Hmm.
it's different, or I don't have the friendships that I would hope to have and as an
Yeah.
adult," so that completely makes sense. So if you are listening and you feel like that, you're not alone.
No.
It's
Yeah.
plenty of women that do, and I feel like something that's kind of complicated too, when you talk about friendship in adulthood, is like you said, the different seasons.
Mm.
Like in just proximity, one of my best friends lives in Texas and I'm all the way in Indiana. Or you get married and then you have children, so you have friendships according to your kids' age groups and stuff like that. So I think that's all a part of navigating it as well, that makes
Yeah.
it a bit more tricky. um, I guess I wonder, it has me thinking, so as an adult, do you think you end up having different friends in different areas of your life? Like maybe mom friends and maybe friends that you like to play pickleball with and things like that. Is that something that you should realistically look for in adult friendships?
Yeah. I love that question because I think like when we think of friends, we all, automatically create some sort of definition of what that means to
Yeah.
us in our own lives. And a lot of times we tend to like make that equal ride or die friends, like those
Yeah.
best friends.
That's true.
And the reality is that like there's room for a lot of different types of relationships in our life.
Yeah.
And there's going to be different levels of vulnerability with those friends. And there's going to be different levels of like, what do we kind of gain from that connection or friendship? And one isn't like better than the other,
Mhm.
they all really fulfill us in different ways. And so I love even just by you asking that question, just thinking, I love helping moms think differently about their friendships.
Mhm.
Because I think a lot of times we come in wanting this, like, okay, I'm trying to create all these like ride or die relationships. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, 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 no. Like, great if that happens,
Yeah.
and it's okay to want that and want to pursue that. But like, let's also not miss what might be in front of us that is really fulfilling in so many ways. It
Yeah.
might not ever get to that ride or die place, but like, I never think of like wasting time kind of getting to know different mom friends or moms in our like school community, for example. Like,
Yeah.
even if I'm like, I don't think they're going to turn into like my best friend, but they might turn into someone who's like open to meeting up at a park on a Saturday, getting energy out of these kids. Like, that's still
Okay.
a win for me.
Okay.
Some level of conversation that's, while we're there is great. Getting to talk to another adult. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, just thinking a little bit differently. The analogy I use a lot in my community is like, not every like we all have these planes. I think of like a plane of our friends,
Mhm.
and not everybody's going to be sitting in first class. Some people,
Uh,
like, and that's okay. We still need the plane balanced. It keeps us in
yeah.
the air really well. And there's, different reasons to lean into different people at different times. But yeah, like if you got to love a pickleball, you definitely need some people that love pickleball,
Yeah.
but they also don't have to be your ride or die.
Okay. I love that. I love that you said I never consider it a waste because it's kind of fun, like you chuckle, but it is
Hmm.
kind of funny because you think like, oh, it's not going to be my best friend. So, I don't know how much I'm going to pour into this. But I guess there's also like, especially as moms, you're super busy and you have all these activities going
Hmm.
on. It's like, how much time am I going to pour into each place? But I like that example that you gave. Like, it's never a waste because you do need different people for different seasons, and everyone, you're not just going to have that one person who's going to cover all bases all the time. So I think that kind of helps just to set your perspective when you're looking at, making those different friendships. I am curious to get your opinion on this. So I read something a while ago, and it was talking about in adulthood, we should be intentional on the types of friends we make, specifically in regards to diversifying our friend group. So, everyone in your friend group shouldn't look just like you, think just like you, do the same thing that you do. If you want to make sure that you're having a broad worldview on things, and if we're talking about we want to grow and be accepting and learning of different things, that we need to be intentional about who we're adding to our friend group. I like to get your thoughts on that because I feel like um sometimes it's easier just to find, you're going to gravitate towards the friends that look like you or do the things like you do. What would you say, do you feel like there's a benefit in intentionally diversifying friend groups, and is this something that should even be on our radar, or just don't even worry about it? Just make the friends you make.
Yeah, I love that question. I'm all about diversifying friend groups and just, I mean, I would just say even like community. One
Yeah.
of the favorite mantras that I think that think about a lot in my life is, who am I paying attention to? Um, and that covers friendship. It also covers more than friendship for
Yeah.
me. When I think about like the spaces and the people I learn from, like online, and the books that I read, and
Mhm.
um, when it comes to just keeping a more diverse worldview and not
Yeah.
one that's so insular. So yes, I'm a huge fan of that. I, when it comes to friendship in particular, I just think moms there's a lot of um, there's a lot of feelings around finding friends and a
Yeah.
lot of like, I think as moms, we already have so much guilt and so much things on our plate of like things that we're not doing perfectly or well, or like, oh my gosh, yes, I need to like lean into different types of friendships. Like some moms just need to lean into friendship at all.
Yeah.
Some are not putting any time and space there. So I don't love to put like really, really specific boundaries around it.
Hmm.
Um, in that sense, but I definitely encourage moms to think about like, okay, just also just be aware of
Yeah.
like who you're collecting. I mean, like seriously, of like, okay, I find myself gravitating towards this mom when I'm at this school function.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes I really do a pep talk beforehand and remind myself like, okay, look for the mom that's like standing outside the circles or
Hmm.
against the wall or like likely doesn't feel like she fits in here.
Yeah.
And so those are other things I like to do. And sometimes the mom that is not feeling like she fits in, also doesn't necessarily look like everyone else either.
Yeah.
And so that's something I try to be aware of. I also know that that is a gift of mine that I have. I know not every person has that gift of like, how do I include someone else when I myself am feeling uncomfortable, you
Yeah.
know? Um, and so I think for those of us who do have that gift and can do that, I really encourage them to. I always, moms are always like seeing all these other circles of all these like mom groups that are out there, cliques, and they're, feeling sad that they aren't part of one
Yeah.
necessarily, or they don't feel part of one. I think there's a lot going on there that more than meets the eye. But I often tell moms, like, you can try to break into these circles, certainly.
Yeah.
Or you can just like look around and see who else is staring at these circles,
Ah,
and create your own. And so, yeah, I definitely think it's important to have different voices in your life and different perspectives. I just think it makes us all better humans, and better relating with each other.
for sure. Absolutely. Um, what are your thoughts on like the friendship reject? So we talked about the mom groups and breaking into the groups. You know, I've heard just different individuals say like, "Oh, well, I tried to talk to this one and they just really didn't seem like they were into it." Or, it's kind of like going on these first dates or dating apps or
Yeah.
something. But it's like the friendship reject. Like what are your thoughts? Like, how do you pivot after that if you feel like you've been rejected by a friend group or a new friend that you're trying to make?
Yeah. Yeah. Rejection, the feeling of rejection is very real. It's
Mhm.
very out there. I think a lot of times I do think it starts from a mindset of like assuming people are not interested in being our friends. I know I got into this work because we moved away from our family and friends 15 years ago. We didn't have kids, we didn't have pets, we didn't have a dog. And like, I just found it so hard to make friends. And kind of an aha I had after like 1 or 2 years of struggling a bit. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I've always had good friendships in my life. Like, this is weird. Am I like, maybe something's wrong with me? Maybe everybody else was just being nice before. I don't know. Or like, I was just around, so they had to make the best of it. Like, legitimately, like, those are the thoughts that were happening in my head. And I had,
Yeah.
before then always been a fairly confident person in
Yeah.
relationships. And that really messed with my head. And I don't know what happened one day, but I was like, what if oh, I do know what happened. I sat in a room with 30 other women in our condo that had just signed up to say, yeah, I'll do this book club. And it was all
Yeah.
these women saying, yeah, no, I live here. I've always lived here. I've got friends, but like, I want to know who lives in this condo too. Like, I want to be friends with them too. And I
Yeah.
was like, whoa, what? You all have space for more friends. That is what you're saying. You're saying you have space and you want them. Okay. Okay. And what I realized in that moment was like every time I met with someone, particularly who like was from the area, had established friend groups, I was like, oh, yeah, you're just being nice. You don't have like actual space or interest in me. And I'd kind of been pre rejecting, honestly.
Ah,
And so that shifted my mindset in these interactions. And I started going in being like, oh, okay, everybody wants to be my best friend. I get it now. And so that mindset actually changed how I showed up in those interactions. And of course, I did not become best friends with everyone. But all of a sudden, I felt like I had friends because I was assuming, well, they actually want to be my friends. So I will take them seriously. I
Yeah.
will like send an invite and see what they say. Um, and that really changed everything for me. And so when I hear women, particularly moms, tell me, like, oh, I just like, I don't know, she wasn't super warm, she wasn't super friendly. Um, I really encourage them to give one, just like verify you're bringing the right kind of mindset to that interaction.
Yeah.
And then two, like give just a few more chances. Like think about your own mom life. Like let's think about what maybe happened to you this morning.
Yeah.
And like when you showed up to that interaction with this person that you're actually maybe interested in, but you were still like, your nervous system was still freaking out from how terrible this morning went getting these kids out the door.
Yeah.
And like, or all the other like 10 million things on your to-do list that you're like trying to think about. Oh, wait, no, stay present, be like perfect mom. Like all this is happening to us.
Absolutely.
And so when we're actually interacting with humans and potential new friends, sometimes we're just like, sometimes we just can't. We just can't. And it has nothing to do with that other person. And so I always really encourage moms to give it just a few chances and just make sure like it's not, it's like truly like, no, the energy here isn't good. It's not working out fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Move on versus like, are you actually being rejected? Or did she just have like a tough morning? Does she have social anxiety? Like, there's so many factors at play, and it's likely not you truly being rejected.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And I walk around with just kind of my rule of thumb is that most of the time it's probably not you, but other people have their own
Mm,
things going on in their life and you just don't
yeah.
even realize it. I mean, especially I know I probably just warning into people like over the last year with the passing of Hannah, sometimes I probably was
Mhm.
spacey. Had nothing to do with the other person, but if you just come up to me, you wouldn't know. You know, if
Yeah.
you see me in the grocery store, you're trying to start a conversation that this is all that's going on with
Mhm.
my life. But a lot of times we have to consider that other people are living life too, and there's just things that are going on with them that we
Yeah.
don't know. So just give them that extra grace, a lot of times.
Yeah. And honestly, like people might be asking you very triggering questions,
Yeah.
questions that people who have not lost um a child, like they're so normal in our culture,
Yeah, for sure.
And so like that may have happened to you. And, you should obviously not blame yourself for any reactions or feelings in those moments. But you're right. Like, we don't know what other people are going through. We don't, like, I always try, try to, I've done some educating around, like, okay, let's try to not trigger people with different questions. Like, what are safe questions? But, I hate putting even that weight too on people
Yeah.
when they're just, I don't know. It's so much I don't want us completely overthinking either.
Yeah.
Um, but just continuing, I'd rather just press that message of grace for each other. Just,
Absolutely.
not knowing.
Completely on board with
Mhm.
that. In the space of everything being virtual, because you mentioned the book club, which made me think about this,
Mhm.
and even like a lot of book clubs and stuff are online, and
Mhm.
everything is just where obviously the world is back open, but there's still a lot of online things in the age of primarily virtual spaces. How do you make friends there if you're not just
Mhm.
really going out as much as we did, pre 2020?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely encourage the face to faces, but I love virtual spaces. Um, I think they can do a lot to like help make a relationship stickier.
Okay.
So, for example, like I kind of say phones are the new playground. Like, so I'll use the face to face and then we can talk more virtually. But like, let's say you do meet someone face to face
Hmm.
or you meet them in a mom's group online. Maybe you're in a Facebook group of your local community and you see you've got something in common with someone. Like, you make an initial connection.
Hmm.
Like, okay, initial connection made. You think that's the hard part. But sadly, the hard part is actually like the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth interaction. Because it's like, okay, like, cool, I like you. Maybe they like me. I hope they like me, all those things.
Yeah.
But like now you need to like test it through some more interactions and
Hmm.
see like, okay, is this like going to be a person that sticks? And there's like some statistic out there about how many hours it takes to develop a strong friendship. And it's
Hmm.
honestly quite defeating for moms, because it's a very large amount of hours. And but I actually think you can like do it in less time
Hmm.
through your phone, through virtual interactions,
Yeah,
because when we're connected on social media, for example, you post a picture, I can like it, I can comment on it.
that's true.
I can use that information. Maybe if I do see you face to face to be like, oh, hey, like I saw the birthday pictures, like, oh my gosh, like it looked great. Like, how are you feeling like leading
Yeah,
up to it? Like,
that's
it gives you kind of like conversation starters. It gives you opportunities to like, um, like send someone a DM
mhm.
individually, like, hey, I saw you posted this. I just wanted to like share my own story, or I wanted to like, let you know about this recommendation, or like maybe you wanted to say something not in like the public space.
Yeah.
Um, and so all of those little interactions online add up in person too.
Mhm.
And so it like when people like our things, when people comment on our things, it makes us like them more. And it
Yeah.
makes those face-to-face interactions easier. So I love the virtual space for like progressing face-to-face friendships.
Uh-huh.
And those same tactics can be used. Like, let's say you're making friends, with other podcasters who don't necessarily live, in your, you know, a great radius of your state or your city. Um, I think there's a lot that can happen through like voice, voice chats and just little like supporting each other messages that like starts to grow this affinity for the other person. If you're truly like showing up to virtual spaces like book clubs, um, and there's no opportunity to necessarily meet these people in face to face, or maybe there is.
Yeah.
My favorite strategy in like Zoom rooms is the side chat, is like the one-on-one
Yeah.
DMs. Because people are like, ooh, like cool. Like someone's like talking to me directly and about this topic. So I've definitely coached some moms around that in the past, because I know I've got a few moms that have like joined working mom virtual groups,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes they don't like lend itself well to like they're not breaking them out and giving them opportunities to chat. So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, we'll use the side chat then, like, and then just kind of like follow them on social media and
Yeah.
kind of like make your presence known,
Mhm.
and see what comes back.
That's so true. And that's a good perspective, definitely to have on social media and virtual spaces and friendships because you do get to learn more about people and the connections that you have. I like to believe that we're more alike than we are different. And
Mm.
if you're looking at social media, you are able to form those connections a little bit quicker. So that's a good perspective. Thank you for sharing that. So you have your rules on
Mhm.
friendship. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I share with moms there's like three, air quotes, new rules of friendship that I just feel like, we all naturally seem to make friends growing up. It just seems to happen.
Yeah.
And then in adulthood, it doesn't happen quite as easily. And so the reality is that we were never really told the rules growing up either, but especially like in adulthood. And, we have this feeling that, like, okay, friendship just happened for me growing up. But what really just happened was that we were in the same place together for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Every like over and over. It was consistency. It was just like this is who you get. So, naturally you're going to form some relationships with those
Yeah.
people. That's just going to happen. And what doesn't happen quite as consistently in adulthood is that kind of continued gathering and consistency that
Hmm.
sometimes has to be created. It often will happen at work, depending upon your work situation, but
Yeah.
that's not everyone's. Um, that's not everyone's. I don't know. Opportunity. It was not mine when I became a mom, and so a lot of times, yeah, we need these rules. And so the first one is that it's okay to be forward. Remind me, how old are your kiddos right now?
4 and 6.
4 and 6.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you probably have seen them on a playground, like whether they're the ones that say it or another kid, like, hey, do you want to be friends and just play?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, for sure. It's
you
so
know,
easy for them.
it's so easy. They just run up to each other. My youngest was the cutest. He would just come home, "You're great.
Oh,
Let's go."
I love it.
And while I don't suggest like, yeah, go up to someone and say, "Hi, do you want to be my best friend?" I do think it is safe to be forward is my
Yeah,
number one rule. It's safer than we think. We think we're the only one that's feeling this way, but the research really says 75% of women are craving more. And
wow.
so the likelihood of you running into someone that is wanting more in their friendships is very high.
Mm,
Um, and so the research is on your side. It's safe to be forward. It's safe to say, like, it's safe to, drop in there. You don't have to say, oh my gosh, I am desperately in need of friends and I'm craving. You don't have to come out that hot,
yeah,
but you can just be like, oh yeah, like, man, since like becoming a mom, like, man, this friendship, like, I just don't have time to see my friends. And the ones I do have moved away. And
yeah,
I don't like, yeah, it's just a little bit safer to say those things, and you'll be surprised at what you get back really quickly, even from a mom you might have just met at a playground. People are very interested in talking about this topic. And yeah, it's amazing how um, quickly you can feel connected to someone, even by kind of broaching this topic.
yeah,
Moms just automatically, I have found, just feel pretty safe with me and are like, okay, like I don't go overboard, like, sharing my whole life's history, but I just kind of let them know, like, yeah, I'm open to like having some more friends in my circle. If you're interested, if you think I'm cool, if you don't, it's fine. I'll find someone else. It's what we're all doing out here. Just kind
yeah,
of finding people that like feel like a good energy match for us. So
absolutely.
yeah. So that's the number one rule. And then the second one I said a little bit before, which is phones are the new playground.
Mhm.
Like that's where we can build that consistency and stickiness. Um, and that third rule that it's more the mindset piece, but I like to tell moms that like the bar has been lowered when it comes to friendship and
Okay.
motherhood. And a lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, like that doesn't sound like very genuine or authentic or like all the things. I think we all hold some level of standard of what it means to be a good friend.
Yeah.
And before motherhood, our standard might have been pretty high. And we maybe have been, when we maybe were able to meet that standard. Um, but I do think in motherhood, our time just gets a little crunched. It
Yeah,
just
for
looks
sure.
different.
Mhm.
And it's not that we don't have capacity for friends, and we still have it. Um, but you might not have the same capacity. You might not have the same mental capacity to like just automatically remember birthdays if that's something you feel like is what a good friend does. Um, I really encourage moms to think about what can you bring to a friendship right now, truly. Like write down what you can bring. I personally cannot bring I don't remember birthdays. There's one friend I reach out to on her birthday. That's all. I got it. It's the one I can do. I barely remember my husband's. Okay. It's just not my thing. It's not my gift. But when you are with me, you have my attention. I will not be on my phone. Like, I will reflect back. I will be a reflective listener. I will
Yeah,
help you process. Like, I am in it with you. If you go through a hard time, I'm not going to be able to show up and completely clean your house and bring you all your meals, but I will show up in some way.
yeah,
I will figure out how to do that. And I'm not going to be doing that for like all these friends in the plane. There's certain friends in the plane that get that. And it's kind of releasing, this need to show up for everyone in the same
yeah.
exact way. And so I find that, when I look at my list of what I can bring to a friendship, I would want that, And so I think, okay, like, yeah, I'm not like the best friend I've ever been,
Mhm.
but I still have a lot to offer. And oh my gosh, if anyone offered any of this to me right now, I'd be thrilled. So that has helped me kind of get over that mindset hump of like, well, I'm not going to invest in friendship right now because I can't even be a good friend. I don't have time. I barely have time to be a good, all the other things we're frustrated that we're not showing up well enough to.
For sure.
So,
That's true. And I like that perspective, and it gives us kind of some steam or some ammo to put in our pocket when
Mhm.
we're navigating this friendship space. It's funny, it makes me think of my kids, and I look at how they make friends. Like, my husband has a coworker and his son, they're just the same age. So it was just like, oh, we need to get our kids together. And they got the boys together and they've just been like this. They had a
Mhm.
blast. It's just like, hey, you're such and such. Yep. And then they just went on. I'm like, it's so easy. And they both talk about each other and want to play together again. But it's just, I love the easiness of the friendships in childhood. And I enjoy seeing that with them. But you're right, life adds on complexities. We have competing responsibilities, and we have to give ourselves the grace to be the type of friend that we are able to be in different seasons. So thank
Mhm.
you for saying that. It's been so great chatting with you. I've learned a ton of new stuff today, so thank you for sharing. Tell us, how can we hear more from you on your podcast, and how can people follow you on social media?
Yeah. Everything is the Connected Mom Life on Instagram at the Connect Mom Life. Website, the Connect Mom Life, is where you'll find the podcast where we talk each week about, I essentially say it's for moms who are like trying to stay tethered to themselves, stay connected to themselves in the midst of the craziness of motherhood and to the outside world.
Yeah,
Because I truly believe we all need a village. Everyone tells us we do, but what they don't tell us is that those villages don't just show up necessarily. Sometimes some of us have to create them. And it's not quite as hard or as daunting or as time consuming
yeah,
as, we often think. So really trying to encourage and support moms in tactical and practical ways of like navigating this busy season and not doing it alone.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Emily. We end our episodes with the same question. So I'm going to ask you, what is one piece of life changing advice that you would give to someone that you deeply care about?
That's such a great question. It is that it's okay to be human, is a mantra that I like to remind myself of. I like to remind my friends of when we feel like we're having feelings we shouldn't have, or navigating something that just feels hard and we can't seem to make it better.
Yeah.
Just by, I feel like I've tried all the tactics out there when it comes to like, man, I am sad. Let me journal this away. Like, let me journal this. Let me get to the root of this. Let me figure out what's going on. Well, here's what stinks. You can figure out what's going on and you can still feel sad.
Yeah.
And so anyone out there that's telling you like, here's the secret to like constantly being happy, run away from them. Because it's just not the human experience. We are meant to experience all the feelings. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling that way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Emily. Again,
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
absolutely. This has been fun. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you learned some new tips for navigating those adult friendships and you understand that you're not alone if you're feeling like, hey, I want to make some stronger friendships in my life at this point. And you can start today. Emily gave us some great tips. So thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, take care.
And that's it. I'm out of here.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Hey Hannah podcast. We hope that you found inspiration, insight, and encouragement in our conversation today. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay connected with us, be sure to like, subscribe, and review the Hey Hannah podcast. Your feedback helps us reach more people and spread our message of love and wisdom. You can also follow us on social media at Hey Hannah Podcast. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to stay updated on all the latest episodes, behind the scenes exclusives, and engaging content. And for those of you who prefer the visual experience, catch the video versions of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Just search Hey Hannah Podcast and hit that subscribe button to never miss an episode. For even more Hey Hannah goodness, visit our website at www.heyhannahpodcast.com. There you'll find updates, bonus content, and join a community that embraces you with open arms. Your continued support truly means the world to us. Together, let's spread love, share wisdom, and honor every precious moment. Because here at Hey Hannah, we believe that life is meant to be lived well. Remember, a new episode of the Hey Hannah podcast is released every Wednesday, so mark your calendars and be sure to tune in. Thank you again for being a part of Hannah's Hive. Until next time, take care.
Entertainment. Entertainment.